Hi, I'm Karina Ferguson from Clever Girl Co-working and Craftstar Studios, and in this short video I am going to teach you some tips and tricks for how to use my free Canva templates for your creative business brand board. If you don't have your Canva templates for the brand board, there is a link in the description below and you can go and get yours. So go and grab your templates so that we can work through these together. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're logged into your Canva account. And everything that I'm going to show you today is usable in a free account. You can see that this is the Karina practice account. Can't even say my own name this morning. So it's a free account. So everything we're going to do is going to be free. However, if you do find that a lot of the Canva Pro elements and things are helpful in your business and you decide to sign up for a pro account, I do have an affiliate link in the description and I would love it if you would use that. But for now, we are in a free account and we're going to walk through these brand boards and how they work in this free account. So when you get the email from me with the link for the brand boards, I've pasted that into the address bar here. So I'm in my free account and you'll get a page that looks like this. Template created by Karina, me, shared with you, start designing now. And whenever you get something like this, you can click through and see all the pages. So we're just going to say use template. Now, we're going to set up our screen a little bit. I'm going to close this sidebar and I am going to show you all of these. What we've got here is we have 6 different pages. We have the different brand boards and then I have some tips and tricks at the end. So we're going to start with the one that's for my business actually, and I'm going to open that up. I'm going to make it a little bigger here so we can walk through together. So the way the brand boards are set up is you have a logo at the top. You have a color palette with the hex codes for those color numbers. You have your fonts, some logo variations and watermark. And then I have a place to do backgrounds and icons and then inspiration images. Now, when you're looking at the inspiration images here on my actual board, you're going to notice that they're all watermarked with Canva and we've got the little crisscross grid through them. And the reason for that is that these are pro images. Now, all of the images that I've used in the other branding board examples are free and you can find tons of free images. But anytime you try to use these pro images in a free account, you're going to see this little watermark across it. So nothing to worry about there, but just to give you the heads up as you start to go through things. So let's go up here to the top and walk through the different brand boards. So I have the blank one, and then I have one that is in, I'll call it a coffee shop format where we've got coffee colors, little coffee icons. I've got a wedding photographer kind of a layout where we've got some wedding icons and the pinks and the greens. And then I have a warm palette here for a yarn store with yarns and little brown icons and everything. And like I said, this one is mine. And when we're looking at the colors, you can see how my colors are used in my different things. Like I have my icons, the different colors. These icons kind of match these colors. And you can play around with that however you like. But we're going to walk through all of those step by step. So first part is your logo. This is just a simple text logo. If you don't have a logo, I think that's a great place to start. You can do a simple text logo and you don't have to fuss a whole lot with it. You can get these made on Fiverr really inexpensively with elements and stuff. If you do choose to make an element or to make a logo in Canva with Canva elements, just make sure you're following their rules for what you can and can't use in a logo. But I've just got a text logo here and that's your space to put that. And then we have the color palette. My color palette for my business has 6. I've given you 6 spots. You don't have to use 6 spots. You can totally use a few or as many as you want. You just don't want too many because that can kind of dilute your brand. So if we scroll back down, let's go back down to mine. Hopefully I'm not giving you a headache with the scrolling. I have 3 main colors that I use, which is the blue, the coral, and the gold. Very primary. And then I just have some accent colors. I have a not quite black that's a little bit navy-ish. I have a green and a pink that I use in my branding as well. But like I said, you can use as many as you want. So what we're going to do first, we're going to click on one of these circles. And then up here, we're going to see the color, which is this pale gray. I'm going to click on the color and it's going to open the whole color thing. And so the color that I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with the coral color that I use in my business. And it'll give you this option down here to change everything that's gray to that color. Well, we don't want to do that yet because then we're going to have a bunch of gray boxes, but turn pink. So we're just going to start with this one. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our hex code in, and the hex code for this one is E96572. And the reason I suggest you put the hex code in, let's make this a little bigger so you can actually see it, is because as you're working in Canva and outside of Canva, it's good to know these hex codes in order to be able to use them in different applications. And anytime you need to know the hex code, you can just hover over the color, it'll give you the hex code. Once you know the hex code for the color that you're using, we can put that hex code in this search bar, and it brings up my color, but then it also brings up Canva suggested color palettes. So we have a fresh grapefruit palette that uses a very similar coral, fruit punch that uses a similar coral, the watermelon down here, and it gives you some ideas for colors that you can put together. So that's really helpful. You can also do that and say, you know what, I want a light blue. And then it's going to give you a light blue. And if you click on that color, you will see here all these different things. And then we can say, what is that? ADD 8E6. Let's put that in here. 8E6. And then we'll start getting all of these color palettes that use that blue or something very similar. So let's go ahead and put that back as my coral. Another way that you can do is you can pick an inspiration image and pick colors. And that's what I did with this. Let's make this a little smaller so it fits. That's what I did with the colors for these different palettes. So if we look at the colors in these images, it's kind of where I started from for these. So I can pick one of these colors and then have that as a color for my thing. So there's different ways to do those things, but it's really nice that Canva gives you ways to put colors together. Okay, so you're going to fill out all of these, put together a palette that you like, delete them if you've got extras and you don't need as many. Then we're going to look at the fonts. So looking at the fonts, I've got a place for a heading font, a subheading font, and a text font. I think that the one that you need to give the most consideration to after how things look is the text font, because you want to make sure that large areas of text on your website or anything that you produce are readable. So I like a sans serif text font for my reading font. And if you don't know the difference, let's get this out of the way here. If we look at, we'll make this a little bigger. If we look at, I need that to go away. Oh, there we go over there. We look at heading font and subheading font. They both have an H in them. And see how you've got like those little feet at the top and the bottom of this H, but not in the subheading. Heading has the serif, so that's a serif font. Subheading is sans serif, which means it's kind of clean and doesn't have those things. So I like a sans serif font for the text. That is totally up to you, but you can do some research on the best fonts for readability, best fonts for dyslexia, things like that. I like a sans serif font for the subheading because I like to do the all caps. So I can do all caps, and I like the way those subheadings look in my stuff. There is a link in the tips and tricks slide that's at the bottom of this that'll tell you a place that'll give you some Canva fonts that go well together. Some of the ones that I pulled on this page came from there, but you can play with that and put that together that way that you like. And then you've got logo variations in Watermarks. I have other nice logo, and then I have the Watermark. So the one that I want to look at real quickly is actually the watermark. So the Watermarks is where you take your logo or your text logo and you make it kind of transparent, similar to what they did when they were watermarking the pro elements in my brand board. So let's go back here and we're going to go to the watermark work. So here, I'm going to close this. I have Clever Girl Co-working all in white, and I have my Craft Star Studios, which is my pattern and tech editing business, in a white logo. So we can see, we can click on this and we click on the whole thing and we can change the transparency and make that a different transparency. You can also do those elements individually. These are just grouped together. So I can change one and not the other, for example, but we would want them both to be the same in theory. And then I'm going to go ahead and make that about 40. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull a picture in. Now this is a picture of a girl doing tech editing, and you can see the watermark here kind of marks that as mine. But that's how you might do it if you have the text. And the same thing can work if you have your logo. Now my logo, I always suggest either having the logo in all black or all white. Having a version of your logo like that's always helpful. And then you can do the same thing. You can come up here to the transparency. You can play with that slider and slide it down. Like I said, we're going to start with about 40%. And then we're going to bring in a picture of a lady knitting. And we can see how that looks. And then we might say, you know what? This looks a little better up here on the dark. Do I want it lighter? Do I want it dark? You know, not darker technically because it's white. Do I want, you know, less transparency or more transparency? And that's basically how you do the watermarks. And of course, like I said, all of that can be done in a free account. So let's go back to our brand board then and look at some of the other elements. The next thing that we're looking at here is backgrounds and icons. Now the icons, I use the icons a lot on my website. For example, if we come, let's scroll back down to mine. These icons have to do with the different parts of, you know, getting your business all set up for productivity with co-working. We've got, you know, the vision, you know, the planning, and then the co-working. So those are little icons that represent that. So we're going to look at setting up some icons here. So the icons, we're going to go in and we're going to go to elements over here on the left. And you can say icon and you'll start seeing some of these different things. You definitely want to make sure you're in graphics. But here's some of the examples of the different icons. And because you're in a free account, you want to make sure you have a free version. But the other thing that you want to do is when you select these icons, I like to have ones that I'm going to delete this one for a second, that I can change colors on. And the way that you'll know if you can change colors, I've put this icon for the globe in, and you'll see up here, there's the color thing. So let's make this the right size over here and just kind of drop it in. And then we can say, okay, I want this to be my coral or my green or, you know, whatever colors you happen to have for your brand. I just like to have the icons that you can do that with, but you can search and find different icons that will work for you. So I like to have three. One of the things that I do on my website is both of my websites say, how can we help you? And there's three different ways. For example, with my Craftstar Studios website, I have a tech editing icon, a knitting icon, and I can't remember, a schematic icon, I believe it is, like a sweater icon for schematics. But if you look at these, you can kind of pick these. I just like to have these so that I can use them in different parts of my business. And then the other thing I have is backgrounds. So if we come down here and we see, these are the Clever Girl co-working backgrounds that I use a lot, but those are not free. So let's take a look at one of the backgrounds that I'm using for this coffee shop thing. So we have a background here, and it's just a little tiny snippet. I like to just keep those small so that I have the tiny snippets available. But what I want to do is, if I want to see the whole image, I click on that, right click on that, and I say detach image, and it'll give me the big version of that. And then I can see, you know, that that's something that I want to do. And that's the same thing that you can do with all these inspiration images, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I like to have some different backgrounds. So let's say we're looking for a nice wooden background for this coffee shop. So we want to scroll through and we want to make sure that they don't have the pro thing on them because we want free things. And you'll notice I want to go photo one because I want it to look realistic. So I could have a dark. See here how I put it right in the middle, but then I can drag it into that icon space. See how that just dragged in there? And then I can detach it. Let's go ahead and delete this one. That one's a little dark for what I want. I think this is the one I already have, but you see how you can just drag it in there? So if I just click this, it'll just place it in the middle. But if I grab it and drag it, I can drag it into that spot, and then it's held in that place for me. So that's kind of how you can do that. And like I said, you kind of have to look around to find the pro or the not pro, but the pro are always marked with that little crown. So we've got all of these things done so far. We've got our backgrounds and icons. let's go ahead and look at our images and inspirations. So, images and inspirations, you can kind of put whatever you want in here. I happen to have, let's scroll down here and look at mine again. These are images that I actually use on my website and in my socials. Like the people doing the virtual meetings, I like having the actual photos of that. The little Pomodoro timer, because we use that when we're doing our co-working sessions. But you can have different things. But there may be things that are just like, for example, with the wedding photographer one, I chose things that had, the colors. That's where I started my color palette from, was these beautiful pinks and greens. So you can pick different things, but also the nice thing about having these inspiration images is that it kind of gives you an idea of kind of the feel of your brand. So you can find other images that are similar. So let's go ahead and here into Elements, and we're going to search for, this is the coffee shop one. Let's just search for coffee shop. And we're going to search for photos. I have a tendency to prefer photos. Oh, I really like this one. So I'm just going to put this one in so we can see the whole thing. We're going to bring that to the front so it's in front of everything. So you've got this, pretty image here. You can also get information about this image, and it tells you what it's called. A cup of latte and your piece of cake in coffee shop. You can also view more by that photographer. You can see all the keywords that are used for this. And that will allow you to pick other images that are kind of in the same feeling. I really like the thing where you go and you look at more by this photographer, because frequently they will have multiple things in the same, I'm not saying anything else in this coffee shop. Sometimes they'll have things in the same place. Like they'll have, this might be the same coffee shop, for example. Same kind of feeling. They've got some latte art here, that kind of thing. We're going to stop that one. Oops. Okay, let's get rid of that coffee shop. But you can find videos and stuff too. But basically what you're looking for is art that fits, or photography that fits kind of the theme that you want. And I actually like this one better than the one down here. I'm just going to move that up. Oh, and I should show you how to do that. So if you've got a picture in here and I want to see the coffee part and not the cake part, I can just grab that and scroll and make that fit. But these are just images that you can use in different parts of your business, or they'll just give you an idea of how you want things to look. And so that really kind of ties us up. Let's go ahead and go back and look at mine again. So we've got our logo, we've got our colors. Like I said, it's good to have all those hexes. We talked about doing the watermarks and the icons. And then on the last page, there's some tips and tricks. Make sure you use those hex codes, the icons. Oh, I didn't show you. Let's go back here. So let's see if we're going to put an element in, and we're going to do a yarn icon. And we're going to go to graphics, and then we see a free ball of yarn. So I'm going to put that in. We can also see magic recommendations. You see I put that yarn ball in and it gives me magic recommendations. I can see lots of things that would fit that same theme. Now, some of these are going to be pro elements, of course, but here we have a big spool of yarn, different knitting pictures. So depending on what you've picked, you can find things that are similar by using these magic recommendations. So, and like I said, there's a link here about Canva font combinations. And then, like I said before, everything that we're doing here, you can do in a free account. There are some limits, to the things that are available to you in a free account. If you think that a pro account might work for you, I do have an affiliate link here and also in the description, so you can check that out. I would appreciate that. But the other thing that we want to do, and you might want to do this first, actually, I'm really bad about this, is you want to rename up here. So we want to call this My Brand Board, if I can spell it properly. When you're working with Canva, it's easy to get lots and lots of things going, and it's helpful to have useful names for the different things that are in your Canva projects, so that when you go to find something, you can easily find what you need. And the last thing that I'm going to do, and it's on the end of this branding board, I am putting together a free Facebook group where it's all creative business owners where we can support and help each other. So we're just getting started on that. So, well, depending on when you're watching this, but I would love if you would come and join us. There is a link there on the last page of the branding board, and it's also in the email that I sent to you. But if you have any other questions about the branding board or how to use it, or if there's anything that you need help with, just shoot me an email or join the Facebook group and ask me a question there, because I would love to help you.